Hi, my name is Brian Kearns, and this is my case study on missing Booster Club funds. Just a quick summary of the case study. The big issue at hand here, there's a mother of an accomplished cheerleader at the school, and she wants to be using the Booster Club funds to pay for a cheerleading trip for her daughter, who was just named to a national competition. The trip is going to cost around $400, and the principal's already said that they will not use the Booster Club funds to pay for the trip. The area, people there do struggle economically in the area. There's a lot of jobs. The biggest job area is a textile plant that's there. A lot of jobs have gone out of the area into the suburbs because that's where most people have been moving. This is a smaller middle school. It serves about 480 students, so it's not a huge school. The incident occurred. It was on a very busy day. It was the day of the last game at the basketball game. There was a report of $50 missing from the ticket stubs. There's also 10 ticket stubs that were damaged, and so they got rid of them. But within that, the number of tickets that were lost and sold, and then the amount of funds that were collected, $50 was missing from that total. The people that work these concessions and the ticket sales are parent volunteers. There's two parents there for each, two parents who do the concessions and two parents for the ticket sales. The concessions weren't the issue. This happened in the ticket sales area. So big problem. What's going on here? Obviously, only one of two people could have taken that $50 because those are the two people who are working the ticket stands. Okay, not the concession, but working the ticket stand area. The person who it more than likely is Mrs. Bowman. She's been linked to the missing $50. And she was the one who made the report of those 10 missing tickets, the 10 damaged tickets. And she also has a desire for the funds to help pay for her daughter's trip, since the principal said that they would not use Booster Club funds to pay for the trip. So my proposed plan of action, if something like this would occur in my school, this is what I would do. First thing I would do is to have an individual interview with the other ticket salesman that was there, how they were working together with Mrs. Bowman, and to see what their side of the story is, what they witnessed. I'd also want to have a sit-down interview with Mrs. Bowman to discuss where those 10 missing ticket stubs are and how the money didn't add up. And then also I would be asking, I would ask for those missing stubs if she had them or anything like that. How I resolve this issue, I mean, obviously, with the way the community is and having no prior problems at all, I would still allow Mrs. Bowman to volunteer as a ticket distributor. She wouldn't be allowed to handle the money, but she could definitely work with these events still. All the money would be collected by a different volunteer, obviously. And then all money that we would collect from the ticket sales and also with the concessions would need to be counted with all the volunteers present there with me or with the principal, just to ensure that there can be an accounting for that money right then and there if something is missing. And also another big thing is that if there is any damaged inventory, such as those damaged ticket stubs, that those need to be saved and turned into me as well, or turned into the principal. That way there can be an accurate counting at the end of the day. So it looked to me at the very beginning after reading the case study that it was pretty apparent that Mrs. Bowman was the one who stole that money. She had a desire for it. However, it is possible that she didn't. It could be that the other volunteer did, or that there was just a mismanagement and the person who paid with that $50 bill just forgot to give them the money or something like that. It could have been anything. There could have been lots of things. But it seemed to me at first that it was apparent, but it's important to know that what seems apparent first isn't always what's true. One of the things I was thinking about during this whole time is that I do agree with the principle that funds, especially Booster Club funds, should be used for the benefit of the student body, or as many students as possible, not just for one individual student for a trip. Obviously, there are some differing circumstances for that, such as like at the school where I work, if we have one athlete who qualifies for the state competition, then obviously the school or the district pays for that student to go still. In that case, it's because they're representing the school directly. They're not going as an individual for something, for other accomplishments that they've achieved. I do believe that there were some really good policies that were set up in the school leading up to that moment. But there is definitely some room for improvement. That the policies need to be reviewed so that way fewer mistakes will be made in the future. Okay, so just a little reflection on how I made sure this was an effective, how I had effective and efficient management for, in this case study, like with the decisions that I made. I think one of the big things is because of the policies that were put in place, it's very easy to narrow down where the problems were set. Those were the policies that were done beforehand. And I think that the policies that I would add into it, that having to sit down with those volunteers and count the money with them at the end of the event would help narrow down those problems. That makes it more effective, it makes it more efficient, and makes sure that there's less loss in future games and future events. I saw those problems with the current policies, and I did make those plans to change them and what we can do to be better in the future. How do I promote social learning for students, and also in this case for the volunteers and for the administration and teachers? A big thing was, as a principal, the principal obviously advocated for all students as a whole. And by holding this parent accountable, it still shows that I'm advocating for all the students. Okay, $50 by and large isn't a large sum, and that's still $50 that could be used towards the entire student body for something. Also, I didn't put any individual before the group with that decision. That's just because one person who's been outstanding in the past, okay, they still need to learn that they are accountable for their actions for the whole group. I also showed mercy towards the possible guilty parties by allowing them to continue to participate and volunteer and things like that. But I also allowed for justice to be served with it by having more supervision with that individual and putting policies in place that hold them more accountable as well after the event. And then also, how to promote student academic learning with all students. Big thing was I was able to I can educate stakeholders on the new policies that we're putting into place. That would be any parent volunteers, and maybe in the future there'd be student volunteers that need to know those policies. Okay, that helps provide them with an academic learning. But also, I was involved others in the administrative process, bringing in other people as witnesses and talking with them and setting up these new policies with them to do this stuff. I also ensured equity for all students, that all students are treated the same, all parent volunteers are treated the same. And that concludes my presentation on this case study. Thank you very much.